Hello, I'm Caitlin Moran. Welcome to this week's Moranifesto. Over the last 6 months, I've spent a lot of time in NHS waiting rooms, and over the last month, to get to those rooms, I've had to walk through picket lines of junior doctors and their supporters. In the sun or the rain, they are cheerful and determined, striking against the latest proposals for our health service. Each time, I've taken one of their badges and worn it with pride as I sit in the waiting room, thinking about exactly where I am and exactly what that means. For we will all come here, in the end, an NHS waiting room. Even if you are rich and lucky, not everyone you know is. And so you will be here one day, in this waiting room. It was here before you were born, and it will be here after you die, because you don't just wait in a waiting room. The waiting room waits for you. Patient or carer, which one of you is more scared? You're playing a game called Being Brave for Each Other, which requires sitting in this room and talking to each other in a slightly too bright manner, as if the words have a grainy crystal in them, rather than their usual warm mammalian flow. The words are fractionally too fast, fractionally too shiny. You are pretending to be in a film where you engage in gallows humour banter. You are being, right now, Bruce Willis in Die Hard or Ripley in Alien. You are them because they dealt with great terror with aplomb and they were alive in the final reel. And that's a role that you would really like right now. You would both like to know that you will be there when the credits roll. The hero doesn't die, the funny guy lives. If you've got the right script, you will be triumphant. What are you being brave about? When you walked through the main doors, past the smokers in their dressing gowns, the living embodiment of, nah, fuck it, it's too late now. It was mental health to the left and broken bodies to the right. A misfiring thought and a rhythmic heart, a dark cluster of trouble on an X-ray or in your dreams. They're all the same, really. Your whole life now centres around something almost invisibly tiny, a hairline fracture, or something the size of a grain of rice in the wrong place, a few drops too few of serotonin, or a few drops too many of adrenaline or cortisol. A tiny thing is wrong, and it has now brought you to your knees. It threatens your very you. And so, now, this huge building, these corridors and lifts and nurses and specialists, these machines and cafes and porters will try and wrap its giganticness around you and mend this tiny wrong thing. This hospital, the size of a cruise ship, the size of a spaceship, the size of a town, is going to attempt the magic of getting inside you and battling with this thing that you yourself cannot touch. And that is so odd, that you cannot get inside your own self, but this building will. How frustrating that application and sheer force of will cannot change things now, because it always has before, in your work, in your education, in your house. Your cupboards are neat, you've been promoted, you can speak French, but you cannot graft your way out of this malaise. Wellness, you reflect, is like love. You can do everything you can to encourage it, you can make it likely to happen, but you cannot command it or summon it at will. It is ultimately a random gift that you will weep in horror if you lose. In the waiting room, you cannot work out if we are in an age of miracles now, or if we were still cavemen, fighting plagues with a stick. You've walked past the machinery, the facilities in every bed bay for keeping a human alive, the sockets on the wall for resuscitation kits, the drips and the dialysis and the ventilators, chunky plastic and metal, the same materials we make toy trucks with or picnic sets. This is the best we have yet invented to replace the miracles of honeycomb bone or pulsing vein, a logical mind or an airy lung, these chunky, brutal things. But yet, they keep you alive. They bring you back from the dead, They deliver you to your daughters and your husbands and your parents when, in another decade, they would have buried you or lost you to an asylum. So, we are between ages now, you think. We are in the very crossing point between primitivism and miracles. That's where we are right now. It would be worse to be in the past, so much worse to be in the past, but so much better to be in the future. You would like to get to the future. That's why you're in this NHS waiting room today. You are queuing to buy a ticket for the only train that will take you to your future. And these people in this place, the doctors, the nurses, the consultants, the psychologists, that's what they've all signed up to do. The astonishing people who work the long dawns and the exploding nights. They are trying to put as many people as they can on trains out of this waiting room. That's their vocation. They are conductors on the soul train. They are desperate to watch you leave. And that's what you think as you sit here in this waiting room when they open the door and call your name. You are now walking towards your next year. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Everyone out there has one idea that would make the world a better place, and I want you to tell me yours.